Welcome to Faith and Freedom. For the next few minutes, we hope to inform, inspire, and encourage you as we discuss the legal victories and challenges to your fundamental freedoms and religious liberties. Faith and Freedom comes to you from Liberty Counsel, a civil liberties education and legal defense organization. Join us now as Matt Staver, the President and General Counsel of Liberty Counsel, explains the latest legal issues all across this country in the courtrooms of America. Liberty Counsel is winning the battle for your constitutional freedoms.
So, will the United States get a new credit card, or are we having the credit turned off? That's what we'll discuss today on Faith and Freedom. Hi, I'm Sean Akers, the Dean of the Helms School of Government and Vice President for Middle Eastern Affairs with Liberty Counsel. And joining me today in studio is Daryl Edwards, President of Liberty Counsel Action and a Director with Liberty University School of Law. We're in today for Matt Staver. Daryl, the debt ceiling talks have gone on and on and on ad nauseum, but we're approaching the August 2 deadline where something has to be done. And the big question, put in very simple terms, is are we going to raise the debt ceiling and allow the United States to borrow yet more money, in essence giving it a new credit card, or are we going to stop the deficit spending and have to make serious cuts?
Well, it's been up in the air for months now, and everybody knew this day was coming, and it's approaching us fast. They don't seem to be able to agree on anything, and we have parties that are just totally opposed to each other, some trying to pull off some backroom deals, but that doesn't seem to be going anywhere either, although I'm greatly encouraged by the Republicans, especially those that identify themselves in the Tea Party, who seem to be standing firm, standing strong, and saying that we need to just cut spending is what we need to do. We don't need to be taxing people anymore, that everybody's taxed enough already, which is what Tea Party originally stood for. You know,
these are the simple questions, and it seems very logical to those running small businesses and those running families that you don't increase taxes on somebody. You don't take more out of their pockets to help them be less broke. It doesn't work. The fact is you try to give them more control over their own money so that they can use it to earn yet more money. It's the only thing that makes sense. But what this administration would like to do, and claims at times that 80% of the American people agree with them, is we should tax more, that we should not, and not just as they term it in class warfare terms, not just the wealthy. They're talking about everybody. If you check very closely between the lines, you're talking about taxing, Daryl, everybody.
Well, I think one of the problems that you have is that they think that they can squeeze more money out of the rich, including taxing everybody, but there's just not enough. I agree with what Senator Marco Rubio said the other day. He doesn't want to raise more taxes. He wants to raise more taxpayers. And what they have totally forgotten about is jobs. We have a high unemployment rate. They're not focused on the jobs right now. In fact, I don't think this administration has been focused on the jobs. I think actually they seem to be happier making everyone dependent off the government rather than having people who are self-employed or who are entrepreneurs who are actually creating jobs. The more people we put to work, the more people will be paying taxes, and we can solve our budget problem pretty quickly.
You know, but Daryl, the only way that you can do that is by making sure that those who can employ people have the wherewithal. When they look at their budgets, when those that the administration is calling the wealthy look at their budgets and say, can I hire new people? They're doing so because business is good. They're doing so because they're going to be able to provide jobs for somebody, and somebody's going to be able to make a product that they can sell or a service that they can sell. When you tax them more, it's the same thing that happens in our personal budget. When taxes go up, you go to the movies less. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, but what you have out there is you have this administration who are defining wealthy in ways that they talk about corporate jets, and they want us to think about, high-flying players who travel to Europe and take vacations. Actually, their term of wealthy is the guy who runs the machine shop down the street from you, or somebody who may be running a little print shop. And small businesses, their definition of wealthy would include these people, but they're the ones who are providing all the jobs, or the lack of them at this point, because they're living in a world of uncertainty. They're afraid if they hire people, all of a sudden some new tax, some new regulation may come from this administration. There's no security out there for these people.
No, there's not. In fact, you've got all these folks that go out and they form businesses. They're chasing the American dream. They're going to make it on their own. They form a subchapter S corporation, and lo and behold, they find themselves taxed twice, and they fit right into this administration's definition of the wealthy. These people own station wagons. They do not own private jets, but yet they're lumped in with everybody else that's supposedly the wealthy. And what you really have is that same old class warfare talk that came right out of the Stalinist and Marxist movements of the haves and the have-nots, the proletariat and the bourgeoisie, and we're defining that in such a way that nobody can survive it.
Well, some people are thinking that this defining, that this stalling, that putting off on creating a crisis. And remember, this is the administration that Rahm Emanuel had said, never waste a good crisis. Are they actually wanting this to go to the last minute to create a crisis so, our side will crumble and they'll strike some deal, perhaps giving the president authority? I know there's the McConnell plan, and I'm a little suspicious about that. I'm a little afraid to give the man authority who proposed, $1 trillion in his budget.
That's one of the things that I'm not sure they're explaining very well to the American people. If we look at our own budgets, Daryl, there are things every month that you can't change. You've got a mortgage. Until you sell the house, you can't change it. You have to pay it every month. You've got a light bill. It's going to come in every month as long as you want lights. You've got a car note. As long as you want to drive the car, it's going to come in. You have signed contracts on these things, and you owe them. Even if you don't want the house and the car anymore, you still are under contract. You have to pay for it. These things are non-discretionary. The only thing that you really have control over in your personal budget is the discretionary things. Once you've signed a bunch of contracts and you've obligated yourself, the only place that you have to play at the end of the month and decide what should be spent better here or there is what's left over after all of these obligations. Now, the problem is, in the United States, through what we have to have for defense, what we have to run the government itself, what we've done in entitlements, there is very, very little room left. You're at the point now of not just talking about changing our discretionary spending. We're at that place where it's very politically treacherous for people because they're going to have to shrink agencies. They're going to have to shrink what the government does and shrink what it's promised in order to get us anywhere near a budget that works.
This would be a tough enough fight as it was during the Reagan years when you had a Republican administration who was very conservative. It's almost insurmountable when you're fighting the worst of all liberal administrations to have ever taken authority in Washington and the White House. I mean, you were asking Barack Obama, of all people, the king of, deficit spending, to try to make huge cuts. That's why I think no one believes his grand compromise schemes and all the potential savings he's gonna do. It's like Lucy and the football, that about the time we go to kick it, they're just going to pull it back away and all the spending will start again.
That's an excellent analogy, and it goes down to say this, that you trust what people do, not what they say. And in this particular case, what we've seen is an administration that is bent. These are true believers in far leftist ideology. They really do believe that the government having control of most of the assets, if not all of the assets, would be the best thing, would be the preferable outcome. Now, unfortunately, our founders wrote a constitution that completely forbade such a government. Now, we've pointed out repeatedly on here that this administration is the one that said don't let a crisis go to waste. And the fact is, the reason that's important is because that's when we're willing to give up liberty. You don't just wake up one morning and say, you know what, I'd like to be a little less free today. What you do is you wake up one morning and you say, I'm scared. I don't know how I'm going to put my kids through college. I don't know how in the world I'm going to pay the light bill. I need somebody to pay my mortgage. I don't know what I'm going to do. Does somebody have an answer? And then when a politician stands up and says, yeah, I have an answer, it's going to cost you liberty. They don't usually tell you that. We're going to make you less free. We're going to take more away from everybody, but I'm going to solve your problems. Then it sounds really good to the hurting ear.
Well, it's time to take a stand, and it's time for people to get behind those who are strong for freedom, those who do believe the constitutional principles. We made a step towards that in the last election, a strong step. But we can't say that that's enough and that we've done enough. It's obviously we've got half of a loaf. and actually it's the half a loaf in the Republicans, the Tea Party people in the House of Representatives, who are actually taking the stand. You can imagine where we would be if nothing had changed during that last election. This debt ceiling thing would have been passed, more spending would have been done, and nobody could have stopped it.
That's exactly right. But you do have the ability as our listeners to join in with us to take steps to fight against this. One of the things that you can do is educate yourself on some of the words of one of the great conservative thinkers, Ronald Reagan. You can get, for a donation of $50 or more, Reagan in his own voice by calling 1-800-671-1776 and asking for it. Please visit us at lc.org, and we'll see you next time.
You have been listening to Matt Staver of Liberty Counsel. Our hope is to encourage and inspire you to stand up for your faith, family, and freedoms. We can accomplish a lot when we work together. Get informed and get involved today. Sign up for our free monthly newsletter, The Liberator. We will send it out to you free of charge. Stay informed with our Liberty Alert email update. Just click on the website at www.lc.org or call us at 1-800-671-1776. Tune in next time to learn more about your rights right here on Faith and Freedom.